First and foremost, thank you everyone for coming out today. I know it was a little challenge getting here. Some of you guys were telling me it was a little tough to find it out here, but I just want to let you guys know, thank you again so much for coming out here. We do these events every month or so-ish. That's the plan, right? But it depends. So for us, like the reason why we started doing this is because we met a lot of people along the journey asking, how do we get into real estate? How do we do finance? How do we do this? How do we do that? And so I started to come up here and do these events and started teaching this for free because I know what it's like when I was sitting in those chairs and I didn't know how to get started, right? And so for us, we made it a point to give this information to people like you guys or people who are trying to get into multifamily or real estate in general and use this information and go get into it, right? And so also I've been asked like, you know, how do I scale my business? How do I do finance or other strategies? How do I, find other ways to do a business outside of real estate? And so I brought a couple of guest speakers that I want you guys to listen from because it's not just about real estate here. It's about other businesses and how they became successful in their business too. I got a lot of people that I know here, from my W-2 as well as partners here that I've done business with recently in single family and other people who own different businesses here, right? Like I was just talking to Randy and Nancy. They have another business outside of what him and I do with real estate. And then Josh and his wife, Katie, they're here for the first time listening to things like this for today. So we've got all different sorts of aspects and different walks of life here that I'm excited to share this type of information with you guys here today. Now, I've done these before, so if you're looking for previous content that we've done of like how to find deals, how to talk to brokers, how to talk to lenders, how to structure deals, you can find all that information in the, I'll share a Facebook group here in a second, but all that stuff I've done before, so if you guys want to catch up on some of that material, you can just go back and watch the replays that I've done on Zoom and show you how to do all that stuff from scratch, right? Today is going to be more of an opportunity of different ways you can get into multifamily or different ways you can get into real estate, different ways you can do other opportunities that we do as well. So with that, I'm going to bring up our first guest today, guys, and I think you're going to get a really good one out of this one because he's somewhat of a personal mentor to me as well. And it's funny how we met because before I met this person, he did not want to come up and public speak. He was very scared to come up here and do public speaking. But the transformation that I've witnessed in this person within just a short amount of time, guys, and maybe like 2 or 3 months, he said, you know what? I'm going to come up here and speak because I want to go ahead and get out of my comfort zone, right? This person, his name is Jesse Amezcua. He's in the back. He first started off in the medical industry as an EMT, an X-ray technician, and did fire service, right? He started a side hustle when he was doing his job, but that side hustle then became a full-blown operation. And now he does, he's local out of Phoenix, but now he does also here local out of Frisco as well as referral business only. He owns 10 to 12 crew member, or he has a 10 to 12 crew members and has 10 as well here in Frisco, owns a storage warehouse, 4 trucks. And because he's built such a successful business, he's been able to travel anytime that he wants. Who would like to be able to travel anytime that they want to, right? Exactly. And now he's wanting to help other companies and small businesses by scale and showing other businesses how to implement systems and processes in their business. So he's a granddad of 2, real estate investor, started his own e-commerce business. His faith is really important. He's part of the men's group called Mighty Men and Champions of Christ. Let's bring up Jesse Amezcua, guys. How are you, bro?
Good to see you, man.
Yeah, good to see you. Thank you, bro. So I know I was talking to a couple of you guys here today, and I think this will be very helpful for a lot of you guys just hearing from Jesse, because Jesse, not only does he operate a very successful moving and storage company, but he scaled it in just 4 years, maybe 5, closer to 5, from 0 to 7 figures, right? So if you're looking for a person who knows how to do it, has done it before, this is the guy that you need to talk to, right? So before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and ask him a couple of questions because it's going to be more like a Q&A coming up here. And I have a couple questions for him so you guys can hear from him, right? So scaling to 7 figures through delegation and time freedom, right? So one of the biggest problems I think that everybody here as a business owner can relate to is the attitude, if I don't do it, it's not going to get done correctly, right? I think a lot of us here can relate to that, right? And so one of the biggest challenges is feeling like the whole business depends on you, right? Has anybody ever felt that way before? Like if you're not there, right? It depends on you. So the constant pressure keeps you stuck in the same cycle, right? Now, Jesse, I know you've probably had a bunch of days and nights where you've been like, man, you know, you've missed family time, or you've missed opportunities, or you just, you know, it just gets on that cycle, right? How were you able to overcome some of those problems with like you not being the one, you know, if you were not there, the business didn't go. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think first, I mean, when I first started the business, it was just me doing everything. I was doing the sales, I was doing the customer service, I was doing the home estimates, I was doing the claims, I was jumping on the trucks, you name it. I was doing it. The marketing when I could, and then it started when I started just doing a little bit of the delegating and hiring people to help me out with that. And once I started hiring people and train them and coach them how I wanted things to be done, that's when it kind of took off. Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's really good. And so from that, right, like let's talk about mindset, right? Because a lot of people say mindset, but how important, like for example, right, you went from being the operator of your own business to now starting to delegate, right?
Right.
Because you're the owner of the business, not the operator, right? So with that, right, you were focusing, like for example, let's say you focused on things that were actually making the business grow, but because at the beginning you were doing all that stuff by yourself, you had to do a bunch of other things that didn't allow you to grow that business, right? So when you started delegating those tasks, how effective were you then to start doing the things that really made the business grow?
Right.
Right.
Yeah, it was more of just being able to take a look and take a back seat to see what I need to do to grow the business. And once I started doing that and teaching and coaching others how I wanted things to be done, I was able to kind of take a bigger picture of the business and talk to other business owners and meet with other groups in the moving industry and go to mastermind groups and be able to use my time to be in mentorship programs, masterminds, and just to pick their brains to see what I need to do to scale my business.
Yeah. And so I got a couple of things out of there. Like you were really noticing what you needed to do to scale the business, right? So for example, sales, partnerships, probably like branding your business, right?
Right.
So out of those things, like what if you only focused on things that actually grew your business? So for example, what's the highest value activity and how do you protect that time for it?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think there's a couple high value activities that can go probably, if you don't mind to say a couple of those.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned it before, was just probably coaching and teaching, mentoring the people that I want to run my business, to teach them exactly how I want things done. Is probably the biggest thing. And I would say a close second would be just talking and networking with, like you guys are doing here, is just networking with people and just getting the most out of and picking their brains and finding people that can bring you business. For me, it was realtors. I was always trying to build a connection with realtors and just give value where I could to them. Not just, here's a $25 gift card for bringing me business. What can I do as a business owner to provide value for you as a realtor, and to make you look like you're the hero. When you have a client, you want them to refer you to other family members, friends, neighbors. So for me, it was more of when a client needs to move, they need boxes. So what we would do is we given realtors free boxes so they can give to the clients, and so we put our brand on the boxes, and then we would also put the real estate brokerage, also their brand, on the logo. So now it's kind of a win-win for both of us, and when a client or a customer has a branded logo, they're less likely to throw it away. They want to keep it or give it to somebody and show it off. And so that really helped out, and also giving them the value as far as when a realtor has a client and they have a new listing, we want to be able to declutter their home so it looks nice. The client does, and the realtor does as well. And so we offer free storage, a free month of storage for the client. And that's just another piece of value. We're always looking for ways to build value and gain value for our partners. We deal with insurance companies, so we're always trying to provide value for them. We deal with home builders now, a lot of realtors, a lot of repeat customers, and we're always trying to find ways to build our customer service and our overall brand. So, yeah.
Very good. Yeah, very good. So some of the things that a lot of you guys who are business owners here, you might have felt like if you did it all yourself, you might have burned yourself out at some point, right? Burnout is real, missed growth opportunities, and perhaps you're not able to scale because you're doing everything yourself, right? And so Jesse just dropped a couple of gems here saying that his whole thing was having to hire people to train them, to mentor them, to coach them. That way he can get out of that position and focus on growing the company, right? And so what sacrifices did you make before you started a team?
Sacrifices I made before I started a team was probably a lack of sleep, not spending time with friends and family. And, that's something that I really had to take a step back on, is like, these are things that are important to me. And this is when I need to make a change. So, and when I realize, those sacrifices are important to me, that's when I realized, okay, now I need to build a system, build a team. I've done that with, like I said, coaching, training, hiring people in the office, and then also hiring virtual assistants out of the Philippines. We now hire just our fourth virtual assistant just this week, and it's going to be our first sales position. We have we have one office admin, we have a social media virtual assistant, and then we also have an SEO virtual assistant who is my executive assistant as well. And they just been amazing. Like, I couldn't have done the things without them in the past even 6 months that I've been able to get done with them through training, coaching them, telling them exactly how I want things done. I probably wouldn't be able to get those done probably for the next 10 years in the amount of work that they help me. And they're such hard workers. They're such good people out there, and they want to do a good job. And I love them. I love working with them. I love their attitude. I love their work ethic. And it's something that I'm going to keep growing. I want to be able to help if it's not moving companies, I want to be able to help other companies, other businesses to use that resource to help them grow their business.
Amazing. So it sounds like you figured out like the template to help you scale and grow, right? Which is awesome, because there's a couple of things that you talked about. You talked about delegation. You talked about hiring people to help you out on the things so you can focus on the stuff that really matters for your business, right? So some work might be like admin, customer service you talked about, right? How to get better at customer service, content creation. I've been talking about that on the side, right? Focusing on sales. You said you were hiring your first sales position, which is amazing. And then strategy and scale. So what was the first task you delegated, and what happened next?
And when he says first sales rep, that's through the virtual assistants with the Philippines. I have 2 reps in Arizona, where my business is at, where it's located and headquartered. But to answer your question, the first thing that I hired for was someone to answer the phone. And just because when I first started the business, I was literally answering the phone while I was driving and trying to book a job. I would go to the gym, want to work out. I'd be in the parking lot for 2 hours on the phone, returning calls, booking jobs, and sometimes I wouldn't even get to the gym because I'd have to have lunch. I'd have to go to in-home estimate. And so by me hiring someone that can answer the phone, stay in the office, at the time we didn't have an office, but we got a warehouse now. And then so for them to be able to answer the phones and take all that weight off me, whether it was handling a claim, booking a job, or just had some type of question they wanted to talk about, I was able to leave the office. And I was so happy. I remember the first week when I hired my 2 phone reps, I was buying them lunch every single day. I was buying them Subway, I was buying them Taco Bell, McDonald's, and they were like, "Whoa, like, why are you doing this for?" I'm like, I can't even tell you guys how much I appreciate you guys, and by taking this weight off me, because it helped me so much. And I was just always frustrated, always angry, I was always bitter, I was always just in a bad mood, and just by doing that little thing, that was back in 2021 or 2020, just right before we started doing interstate moves, and I couldn't tell you, it taught me a lot just to be able to teach them and coach them, but it just, at that point, it kind of made me kind of take off. I was able to attend the masterminds, attend the retreats, go out of state for group meetings and network with other people, being on Zoom calls with other business owners. And by doing that, I mean, you guys don't know how much power it is to talk to other people, network with each other, and the sky's the limit. And once you can do that.
Yeah, and you talked about some of the things that you started to delegate to them, and then I love the part where he was like, I bought them lunch every single day. Like those guys must have been great and happy, right? But what tools and systems helped you delegate more confidently?
What tools and systems? I would say right now we're using WhatsApp. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with WhatsApp. We have all of our crew members on WhatsApp as a crew. So my social media person from the Philippines, my virtual assistant, he collects pictures and video and photos so he can put on social media. He also is in charge of the crew management point system that we have now, and just using that and the SOPs, putting processes and systems in place has probably really helped me tremendously with being able to put that in place.
Okay. So from side hustle, right? Because this started as a side hustle, right? To full-blown operations, right?
Right.
Now you're doing systems and things like that, right? So you're no longer the one hustling, but you're more the owner now, not just the operator, right?
Right.
So with that, what systems you built that made a big impact? What's a system that you've built in your business that's made an impact in your business?
I think it goes along with just having the virtual assistants again, is them being able to send me reports, not only on a daily basis, but a weekly basis and a monthly basis, and just to know exactly where our numbers are at and what we need to do to improve on those numbers by just going back and either whether it's a phone audit, and just having those reports so I can see them in front of me, see what we need to work on, see what we need to back up on. Maybe it's either on marketing or on marketing spend, or any kind of budget that we're using. Maybe it's fuel costs that we're running high on, like what's causing those issues, and we're able to really focus on those things through the reports. And that's really helped me probably the most, is just being able to have those handy at any time. I can pull up my phone right now, look at any report, how many jobs we booked, how many leads we came in, how many claims we got, how many reviews we got. All that stuff is just right there in front of me. So it's really helpful to have that report.
This is off topic, but did you like doing reports?
I hated doing reports. That's
Anybody
my
else
worst
feel the
thing.
same way? Reports, yeah? So how nice is it whenever you just get that report and you get to look at it?
That's awesome. Yeah. It helps me so much. I'm able to sleep at night. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so kind of final takeaways, right?
Yes.
So like the first one we talked about was letting go, right? Because that, how as a business owner, you talked about everything depended on you, right? And you lost sleep. You lost missed opportunities with family time, a bunch of other things, right? So letting go was one of the first things. Let me take a step back. How hard was it for you to let go and delegate some of those steps?
It was really hard. It was probably the hardest thing I had to do, because I always felt like, as our adolescent behavior, we think that we're, only us can do it right and no one else can do it the way I want to do it. So that was probably the hardest thing, is for me to let go and just have confidence, have trust, not only in the people that work with me, but the virtual assistants out in the Philippines, just be able to give them trust, give them access to everything, and just to be able to let go. And once you let go, your life will change.
Okay, so I got another off-topic question.
Yeah.
I'm throwing this at you
Yeah,
like
no
off
worries.
script, but so delegating these tasks, right? Like when you started delegating, can you give us a glimpse of how much time it freed you up? Like, let's just imagine you're working like more than 40 hours in a week, right, in your own
Right.
business, probably 50, 60, maybe more, right?
Yeah.
How much more time did you get back by delegating some of these tasks?
A lot of time. I mean, like I said, my business is out there in Phoenix, Arizona. I've been out here. I've had the business for 9 years now. I moved out here in Dallas about 5 years ago, so I live out here, and just being able to do those things has helped me to to get involved in men's groups and work on myself with personal development. Being able to travel pretty much anytime I want, with who I want, wherever I want. I just came back from a 2-week vacation, pretty much just in Arizona. Did a road trip back.
Was that planned?
It was. Would you say it was fun?
No, was it planned?
No, it wasn't planned. It was kind of just a last minute thing, and to be able to have the freedom to do that, and that's what we all want, is freedom. And when you have that, it's such an amazing feeling to be able to do that. I've gotten involved in jiu-jitsu. I do that for, just to be able to work out more often. I'm in pool leagues now. I'm able to help out with the ministry and the Champions of Christ, and work on my personal development, be a better dad, be a better, granddad now to my grandkids. And it's been life-changing for me to be able to do that. So I'm very grateful.
I'm going to ask again, how many of you guys would like to travel whenever you want?
Me.
Yeah, exactly. And basically what you said is you got a lot of time for you to be able to do the things that you really enjoy doing.
Right, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
unplanned trip for 2 weeks, man, that's awesome. I want to be like you, right? That's awesome. Okay, so last question, right? What advice would you give someone afraid to delegate but ready to grow?
My advice, I would say, is to start small. Start small and just start something. Start somewhere, and then once you start feeling comfortable with the things that you can let go of, but they're not really important tasks, and then you kind of will build the confidence to be able to delegate, bigger and better things. And but yeah, that was probably the big thing for me, is just to be able to trust and just start small.
Perfect. And how can people reach out to you?
They can scan that barcode right there, and they can reach me directly. You can visit my websites there. You could email me. You can text me. I'm always happy to talk to any of you guys about business, about life, about personal development. It's changed my life, and I know it can change yours as well.
Yeah, and speaking personally, you see the size difference between me and Jesse, right? He's a pretty big guy, right? And he took me out to work out with him one day, and that was the worst mistake I ever made, guys. And then he challenged me to do a ice bath challenge.
Yeah.
And I did it, but he told me stay in there for 3 minutes. I lasted 1 minute and 30 seconds. So, and he told me I cheated because he said you needed 10 ice bags, and I only got 2, the 10-pound ones, right? And it was already really cold. Cold. So when I hang around with him, right, you can really feel the difference between like what a high performer does in a business. He's a 7-figure business owner, right? So you imagine that the type of quality that he lives and the type of performance that he does is a lot different than someone who's just starting off a business, right? So when you're around someone like him, it forces you to get out of your comfort zone so you can be with that same level of caliber, right? So that's why when you're around these networking events, surround yourself with people who are doing bigger and better things than you, because you can learn from someone like him.
Yeah.
And he's at a 7-figure business, guys. That's powerful. Out of Phoenix, living in Dallas. He manages it all remotely, right? Wouldn't that be nice to live somewhere else and manage your business somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
Any last thoughts?
No, I appreciate. I mean, he always says good things about me, and I got to say good things about him too. He's also been somewhat of a mentor to me as well, because I've always have a fear of public speaking. He's given me this platform to be able to speak in front of you guys, and I've never thought I'd be in front of a stage talking to people like you guys and helping other people grow their business. So I appreciate you as well.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
All right, guys. Give him a round of applause. Appreciate it. All right. So that's Jesse, guys. Don't forget to get his contact information, or if you want to stick around, talk to him. He's such a great value resource. Really good guy, right?